All right. Good morning again, folks. My name is Tim Fox. I'm the Director of Operations here at SENEDIA, the Alliance for Defense Tech, Talent, and Innovation. Welcome to the first Tech Talk of 2024. We have a great topic for today's discussion and presentation. Our topic today is SENEDIA's Real Jobs Rhode Island Defense Partnership Program for Workforce Development. I'm joined today by Rachel Lawrence, SENEDIA's Program Manager for this effort. Who will be presenting today. As a note, this Tech Talk is recorded. We do have cameras and microphones off, but if you have a question or a comment or anything like that you'd like to share, the chat is available. And I will open up the microphones at the end for a Q&A session. But without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Tim, and good morning, everyone. As Tim said, I'm Rachel Lawrence, and it's great to be with you this morning. And as you know from our tagline here at SENEDIA, we are all about being the Alliance for Defense Tech, Talent, and Innovation. And in this talk, we're going to be focusing on the talent piece of that alliance. We're going to dive into one of SENEDIA's programs that supports our members with your talent development needs. So SENEDIA being all about connections and partnerships. In this case, we're trying to be a bridge connecting our member companies on one side who are looking for skilled workers. And then on the other side, those individuals out there in the talent pipeline who are looking for high quality opportunities in the defense industry. And to serve as that bridge, SENEDIA is a partner with the state of Rhode Island, and it is a state grant from Real Jobs Rhode Island that provides the funding for our Defense Partnership Program and makes this all possible. And what this means for you is that SENEDIA facilitates this resource for our member companies to enhance workforce development in three ways that we're going to get into. The paid internships that are available for students and veterans, we provide job placement support, and access to industry recognized certifications. Now, in our time this morning, we'll cover those three components, especially the internship program and how that works. And we hope that all of our members can find ways to benefit from this resource, whether you're located in Rhode Island or elsewhere. So by the end of this Tech Talk this morning, our goal is for you to understand next steps that you can take so that you can, take back to your colleagues the advantages that are available through this resource, and within the context, very importantly, through the context of your own unique circumstances and your company's workforce development requirements. Hopefully, I know we're scheduled for an hour. Definitely don't think we'll need all of that time, but leaving lots of time to have available for Q&A to get all of your questions answered. And we want this to really be part of an ongoing conversation. Again, take it back to your colleagues who are unable to join us this morning. We'd love to touch base with you individually after today. I actually have one meeting set up later today to do a one-on-one on this topic with one of our members, because the more that we understand about your requirements, the better we can run this program to be of value to our members. So we really appreciate your feedback and hope to follow up with some of you in those one-on-one discussions. So let's take a look at then our agenda. Get started. I want to get a sense of who is joining the conversation today. For now, let's use the chat function on the Teams. If you can find the Teams chat, and we'll start the introductions. Once you find that chat, just put in there your name, what organization you're with, and then something about your role. It doesn't necessarily need to be your official job title. Just a sense of what you do in your position, or maybe why it's relevant for you to be part of this conversation today. So for instance, I am Rachel Lawrence, I'm with SENEDIA, and I am the Real Jobs Rhode Island Program Manager. And while I give you a chance to find that, put your answer in, I'll give you a little bit more of my background that brought me to this role. So I've been with SENEDIA since July, and you may have been familiar with the name of Cassandra Johns. She served in this capacity before me. Now, before SENEDIA, most of my career was within the defense industry in one capacity or another, apart from a pivot I took in the last few years. So it's really great to be back and part of this industry, part of this sector again. I started off in NROTC in college, was active duty for about 7 years in the Navy as an intel officer, And then as a civilian, I worked as a federal contractor in the DC and the Northern Virginia area for over a decade, supporting both the DoD and several other government agencies in the national security community. And during that time, I also stayed affiliated with the reserves, and I actually just retired a few months ago last summer. So as I mentioned, my pivot for about 5 years before coming to SENEDIA, I was out of the defense industry and worked for a research firm where my role was as an executive advisor to coach C-suite leaders on implementing best practices in their HR initiatives. So I really find that this position is a really nice combination of putting that HR lens for talent acquisition and putting it on the defense sector specifically. And as you know, I'm joined today by Tim Fox, our SENEDIA's Director of Operations, who already introduced himself. And I see folks are saying hello in there. Jim, Molly, our CEO, is on the line. We've got Greg and Lee. Thank you all for joining us. And again, would love to follow up with you and make sure your questions are answered by the time we're done here. All right, we've got a simple agenda there on the left. First, we're going to cover a quick overview of the Real Jobs program. Want to give you the context of that bigger picture and how we get to those 3 ways that we support your workforce development. Again, in particular, I'll explain how the internship placements work and what that process looks like. That's usually where we get the most questions, especially because there are a couple of different options available for our intern stipend payments. Ultimately, what we want is to make the process as easy as we can for you. And we can talk through what works best for any given situation if your company is considering hosting an intern candidate through SENEDIA. We're going to review several ways that SENEDIA member companies benefit from this resource. And then we'll talk about next steps. Very simple, just to make sure that you know how you and your company can take action to leverage the Real Jobs Rhode Island program that we're a part of. And then finally, again, we'll open it up for Q&A, anything that we may have missed along the way. If you do have questions along the way, feel free to put them in Teams chat so we don't lose track of them. Tim's going to help me monitor that, and we can go back and circle back on those as we get to the question section. All right, so let's really get started with some context of the program overview. So you may hear us refer to this program as both the Defense Partnership Program and or the Real Jobs Rhode Island program. That's because it's both. Because one, our defense program is under the umbrella of the other. And as I mentioned, our funding comes from a grant that is awarded by the state of Rhode Island. So in 2015, the state's governor's workforce board started Real Jobs Rhode Island, and SENEDIA has been a lead since its inception nearly a decade ago. SENEDIA is now one of many organizations, a network of about 60 partnerships the state has with similar programs, and they're being funded under this umbrella of the Rhode Island funding. Our Defense Partnership Program, we're specifically targeting workforce development in the defense industrial base. Each of those other 60 partners, it includes employers, training providers, other organizations, and each one of them is also creating business-led initiatives for their different respective industries or talent segments. And just for instance, you can go to the website if you're interested, but it might be the healthcare industry, offshore wind, hospitality, or they might be targeting assistance to certain populations. I saw that there are some for refugees, older adults, the long-term unemployed trying to re-enter the workforce. So again, it's a fantastic resource at the state level of Rhode Island, serves many different communities. And then at our level, we are targeting mostly students, university students, and also veterans are our target populations, our target candidates. And those candidates come to us from a few different sources, including some of the strategic partners we've got listed there on the slide, various veteran groups that we've connected to and get referrals from them to make sure we've got that network of support. The Real Jobs grant, it's awarded annually through an application process that we do here at the SENEDIA office. We've just kicked off the latest contract award, which it allows us to keep this resource available and going from year to year. And so currently our budget goes through the end of December 2024. And at that time, we expect we'll reapply and hopefully get another follow-on for the following year to continue the partnership. It's really been a fantastic partnership with the state. The Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training, they administer these grants, and if you were to go to the DLT website, you'd see in the language that describes that overall umbrella, again, those 60 groups, they're addressing their given industry's unique challenges, but they're looking for solutions that include placing new employees into immediate job openings. Second is upskilling employees to advanced skills or remain competitive. And then creating pipelines of talent for the future. And that is exactly what SENEDIA is doing for our membership alliance in the Rhode Island and New England defense sector with the Defense Partnership Program. So let's take a look at the ways that we operate to help make the connections between those candidates and our companies. So again, those three ways that we support our member companies in this program are through direct hire support, through industry certifications, and through internships. And there on the left is the direct hire support for job seekers who are looking for permanent positions. Ultimately, that type of employment outcome, that's our main priority for the entire program. For those of you who are members, most of you I think are members who are on the line today, hopefully you're seeing the resumes that get distributed of these direct hire candidates as we try to connect them, raise their awareness and visibility with SENEDIA member companies. So when we are screening candidates during those screening interviews and during our follow-up conversations, we offer all of these candidates that we're talking to support in their job search efforts. Things like resume feedback, interview tips. We provide context about the defense industry and specifically sort of set the stage for what our membership is like, who they might be working with if they pursue that path. And again, this is something we can offer even if it turns out that they are not a good match for our program to move forward. But for those who are a good fit, we're going to distribute their resumes, essentially making that one-to-many virtual introduction to help raise their availability and boost their efforts in their job search efforts. And often, one of the most valuable things that we can do for these candidates is actually pretty simple. It's to point them to the SENEDIA membership directory on our website. And from there, they can discover the companies that they've never heard of before and start finding out more about you, our members, on their own. We find that often the defense industry, it can be hiding in plain sight. So while those big players, big companies among the defense contractors may have some name recognition, candidates often haven't heard of many of our companies through their other job search means, or maybe they pass by a building, see a name on the side of a building, but they're not really sure what's going on there. So directing them to the membership directory is actually something that a lot of them appreciate when I talk to them. And through our interactions with the applicants, SENEDIA is then raising your company's visibility with that available talent that's out there in the labor market. And again, that's true regardless of whether your company is within the state of Rhode Island or elsewhere if you're on our membership directory. So when we talk with many individuals, some of them are willing to relocate. And it might be that the best job match for them happens to be at one of your other locations. So, as those resumes come across, if someone looks like they might be a good fit for your company, it's worth having that conversation to see what their thoughts are about relocation. Obviously, our focus is here in the Rhode Island area, given our funding source, but it's not entirely limited there. We want to make sure that we're finding good mutual solutions for everyone. All right. In the center is certifications. So what we do here is we can help get candidates better prepared to join your teams. And primarily what we mean here are going to be CompTIA's IT and cybersecurity certifications, such as Security Plus or Network Plus, but it's not exclusively that. Again, we can have that conversation as to what is required or sought. We recognize that the importance of safeguarding sensitive information for those who are doing business with the DoD. We recognize cybersecurity as being a top priority within the industry. So to help along with that, we are a academic partner with CompTIA, and therefore we can get a significant discount on the price of their online self-paced study materials, and then the vouchers that individuals need to take their certification exams. And for qualified candidates who we're working with, if they want to enhance their skills in those areas, make themselves that much more marketable in their job search, or as candidates says, they're getting to your doors, we can help them to achieve those industry recognized certifications to make them that much more proficient in your IT and your cybersecurity roles. If you have a recent hire that needs these certifications, we might be able to help it in a case-by-case basis. Again, let's have that conversation. And then beyond cybersecurity certification, if you've identified other skill gaps that your workforce needs, let's have that conversation, see if it's something that we can incorporate to improve the program that we're running here for the future. And then finally, internships, that third box over on the right, we're going to be covering that in the following slides, so I'll get into those details in just a moment. But regardless of whether someone is looking for direct hire support, certification support, or an internship opportunity, or maybe some combination of the three, we're going to be screening those candidates to determine who's going to be a good batch for our region's defense industry. And primarily, again, we're talking mostly to university students, especially those who are in STEM fields like engineering, like cybersecurity. For college students, they need to be entering their final year of either a 4-year or a 2-year degree, or else, graduate students, talk to them as well. And remember, that timing is such that we're trying to achieve our ultimate goal, placement and permanent employment within the sector. So we want the timing of our interactions with those students we're considering to match up, and that's why we're looking for folks that are approaching graduation or are already there. And then some of our direct hire applicants, those might be professionals who already have their degrees. They're looking for their next chapter in their careers. Maybe they have direct experience for a particular role, or they often have transferable skills that are well aligned, and we help them to translate that as they're thinking through what they bring to the table. And of course, we're also working with veterans. That kind of rounds out our candidate pool. And that can be whether they are just transitioning from the military, or if they've already been in the civilian sector for a while, and again, are looking for that next step. And often with our veteran candidates in particular, we're talking to individuals who already have a security clearance, might be active or in scope. So that is something that we're asking about, making sure that we're highlighting. As for the skill sets, we're focused primarily on finding candidates in relevant STEM fields and in some of those business support fields that are going to be relevant. So we're thinking of things like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, maybe robotics, IT, cybersecurity, data science, supply chain, logistics, sales and marketing. If that list doesn't reflect the skills that you need, this is one place, again, where we'd love to get some follow-up, love to get your inputs, and really help our efforts in how we are running this program, what we're looking for, what we're talking to folks about what this community, what this industry is looking for as your needs shift and adjust over time. We want to make sure that we are understanding that and reflecting that appropriately. The better we understand your workforce, your skill requirements, the better our processes are going to be for screening candidates based on what's important to you, your needs, presenting those highlights back to you as we're distributing the new candidates that are coming through on a rolling basis. All right, so now, like I promised, let's look at the internships a bit more closely. And we really wanted to focus on internship programs, make sure you understand how it works, how you can take advantage of this resource. Again, because of our funding coming from the state of Rhode Island, our efforts are going to be for internships in particular that are connected in and around the state, so that we can make that connection that are mutually beneficial for the Real Jobs Rhode Island program that we discussed earlier, and for the companies and candidates within SENEDIA and within the area. But please, again, don't just assume that you cannot benefit if you're not in the state of Rhode Island. We do need to meet those requirements, but we want to have the conversation, ask the question, see what we can do to help everybody that is within our membership. And that's because we meet so many really impressive students. I sometimes I get imposter syndrome when I'm talking to some of these kids. Showing my age now, but they're looking for internships, especially in that summer between their junior or senior year of college, and that's when they're really starting to think about and making those choices about where they're going to end up, what kind of career, what kind of industry they're going to pursue after graduation. So we're really meeting them at a critical point that can be really particularly influential. And right now, this month, we are circulating candidates, trying to raise and familiarize you, our members, with a number of those candidates who are looking for internships for this summer in 2024. We would really love for more of our SENEDIA members to step up as host companies. We think that we've got a lot of folks that could benefit from making those connections and getting the experience that your companies have to offer. So let's have that conversation. It might just be that, a simple 80-hour internship with your team is one step along the path that leads these students towards a future long-term career in the defense industry. All you need to do is say, yes, let's see how we can make that work out. And as a host company, you're going to be able to get immediate short-term help with the projects you've got going on. And that's while you get to vet some of these prospective employees for the future, all at very little risk or cost to you. On the flip side of that, the interns are going to get really valuable professional experience. They learn more about the kinds of careers that are available to them, get that exposure to the defense industry for the longer term. And just that brief exposure can really open up some doors to what they can be doing coming out of school. Many of the students we talk to never really considered the defense industry before. At some of the career fairs, you kind of get this quizzical look like, defense industry? No. And then they're open to those conversations. They're curious. So working with SENEDIA starts to pique their interest. Or maybe they're interested, but they're not sure how to get into the field. So we can be that part of that gateway. It's possible these internships might be that one catalyst they need to open up all sorts of possibilities. And again, you as a potential host company have the opportunity to hold that door open for them. So getting into how it works, the funding from Real Jobs, we're able to provide a $1,500 stipend to the intern, and they need to complete at least an 80-hour internship. If you want to go beyond 80 hours with your own funding or through other arrangements, we can certainly open up that option. And again, we can talk through and make it work. Usually, again, our interns are students who are finishing up school, but it's not limited to just students. We've just talked, even just this week, I've talked to some folks who are trying to make some career pivots, who want to get into the IT or the cyber field. They've done the schooling, they've done the certifications, and so an internship could be just the stepping stone they need to get them into those new roles. And that includes those veterans, those transitioning professionals that we talked about earlier. All right, so how are we at SENEDIA getting connected to these intern candidates? Well, again, a few different ways. We go out and we raise awareness and attract their interest by attending many career fairs at nearby universities. Just completed the registration for some of those spring career fairs that are coming up, and we'll be attending those. And in just a few hours at one of these fairs, we can talk to hundreds of students, encourage them to consider the defense industry, and then apply through the SENEDIA website and get some follow through. And sometimes while we're there, we'll see a handful of booths from individual member companies. We'll go around before they open up the doors. We'll make sure that we know, they know I'm here and compare notes. And we really can complement each other's efforts very well at that point. I was at one last fall where one of our member companies was like, yeah, in addition to talking to us individually, please go down and talk to SENEDIA. So really, really fantastic synergy going on there. And we know that not all of our companies, not all of you have the resources to attend those campus recruiting events. So our SENEDIA booth, it's there to represent the interest of all of our roughly 150 members. And the students love that. You can see a light bulb go on as we describe SENEDIA, what we do, and they get it. They understand the power of networking, that one-to-many connection that we can be a gateway for. Also related to that university recruiting piece, there's a platform called Handshake, similar to LinkedIn in terms of a networking site, but specifically for university students. We advertise on that, and we get a lot of interest from university students that reach out when they see us through that means. Some job seekers find the SENEDIA website themselves. There is a page there, the internship in the drop-down page selection. It gives a brief description of the program. There's an application link. I'll show you a screenshot of that on an upcoming slide. And that can get the ball rolling. Again, for our veterans, we get referrals from various organizations that are supporting veterans. And that's both at the state level and federal, the VA level. And then there's also a fair amount of word of mouth referrals, professors at certain schools who will tell their students about SENEDIA, students we've worked with before who have been internships, they might tell their friends. Recently, we heard from a member of the Rhode Island National Guard. He put us in touch with others that are in, the Guard unit that's doing cyber. So however they find us, the process is pretty much the same once they've made contact. We'll make sure that they meet the minimum requirements. That includes U.S. citizenship, selective service registration as appropriate. And then we take a look at their resume. We set up that screening interview. And, not everyone's going to be a good fit. But even so, we try to make those interactions with SENEDIA to be a valuable use of their time, giving them that advice, that feedback on their resumes, because that's something that, a lot of employers, they don't have the time or inclination to provide, and we've got that bandwidth to be able to do that for them. And then often we find a good candidate, they might still need some help strengthening their resume, and we'll talk through that. Sometimes what's on the page doesn't really highlight that skills, the experience, the relevant coursework that comes through when we start talking to them in conversation. So we'll work with them on that. And then when we're comfortable that their resume is smooth, it's strong, strong enough for distribution, that's when you're going to see it sent out by Molly for your consideration. And that's happening on a rolling basis. Within that distribution will indicate if they are looking for an internship, if they are looking exclusively for direct hire job placement, or again, perhaps that combination, if they're at a transition point and could leverage our internship opportunities as a stepping stone to something more permanent. And this is where we're hopeful that your company might be willing to bring on someone for that 80 hours that we can provide the funding for, and can use that as, again, kind of a test period, potentially looking for those permanent positions if it turns out that it is a good fit for everyone. What if you're finding your own intern candidates outside of this screening process that I've described from SENEDIA? Well, you still may be able to take advantage of some of this program's resources. And again, don't want to get into every possibility, every hypothetical. Let's explore that with you as those situations come up. We have had a few instances where a company already has someone in mind and they reach out, ask about help that might be available with the stipend funding. So if you're not sure, please ask, and we will try to figure it out. We want to get to yes. Again, our ultimate goal is to facilitate employment opportunities so that the defense industry overall, we can attract, retain high quality talent within our community. We're trying to make it, again, as easy as possible for host companies to start making those connections with the candidates that we're screening for you. We want to start those conversations about possible placement and then try to get to yes that meets everyone's mutual needs in a given situation. All right. So if you haven't figured it out already, let's cover real quickly why should your company host be a host site for SENEDIA interns. What are some of those benefits? Taking advantage of SENEDIA internship program, a great way to position your team for success. Find some of that top talent quickly and easily. Our screened candidates, they can add that immediate short-term capacity and then potentially convert to longer-term hiring needs once you've had a chance to test them out on your team and see how they work with you. If maybe your employees need security clearances, some companies have said that the internship period might be a time when you can start to get that process underway. SENEDIA, we're doing that initial screening. Our grant covers most of the cost for the intern stipend. The requirement for the company, it's minimal. There is a $200 co-share, and we have two options on how we set up the payment, depending, again, on what works best for you. We can either pay the intern directly, in which case we get a W-9 from the individual, and that's part of the onboarding that we try to incorporate as they're working with both the company and with us. And then we can bill the company for that $200 co-share. Alternatively, many companies prefer to put interns directly on their own payroll. That can help streamline the possibility of going beyond the minimum 80 hours, or if that working relationship turns into something more permanent, they're already on your payroll. In that case, we can reimburse the company with a check for $1,300, which in one easy step takes into account the stipend and the $200 co-share amounts. Third option, some companies, they're just looking to us to help them screen candidates that are going to meet their needs. They decline the funding entirely. That's fine. Some of those bigger companies, it's actually more of a hassle for them to figure out how to process a check from us. All they really want is to take advantage of this great quality source of talent. Perfectly fine. Just let us know what your situation is. All right, within those funding requirements, we need to meet some of those through the guidelines of our contract, but we really want to make sure that we are making valuable connections on a substantive basis for your company. So when you find a good match, there will be just a few logistical items we need to take care of, so you can focus on the substance. We've tried to minimize that burden for you. As part of the onboarding, we'll just need to get a project description that demonstrates you've got a good plan for the intern. They've got at least 80 hours. They're going to be in a supported learning experience. We will need the interns to register on the Real Jobs Rhode Island portal so that we can track participation and outcomes with the state. And then again, we'll take care of that paperwork for however we set up the stipend and the invoices on that side of things. To close the loop on that, we just need a timesheet that confirms when they've completed the hours. And that's really about it. Again, we try to keep the admin burden to an absolute minimum. We just ask that we keep those lines of communication open for feedback, make sure that both the interns and the host companies feel they are getting the support needed throughout the entire process. Find that a big part of my job in this role is clearing up any confusion that SENEDIA members have, how they can take advantage of it given their circumstances, their requirements. Again, don't want any misperceptions, false assumptions going on about who can or cannot participate. If you're not sure, please ask. Whether you are in Rhode Island or not, we want to find a way that you can take advantage of what SENEDIA is doing on your behalf. And again, we would love to get all of our members involved so that the New England defense sector, really the defense industry overall, that we don't lose out in the competition for this amazingly talented group of individuals that we're talking to. We talk about SENEDIA being made up of competitors, teammates. We want these individuals to find value in a career option within the defense industry. So help us help you make that happen. We just need to open up that door for the first step along their journey. And again, timing right now in January, it's perfect time to engage us on this Real Jobs program. We are going to be focused on those intern candidates who are looking for placements this summer. We also have interns who are looking for immediate opportunities for internships and direct hire opportunities. So a lot of folks that we're talking to. We talked to dozens of students throughout the fall, that we're looking specifically for the summer internships, and we are circulating those now for your consideration. We had a sneak peek a little while ago, and we're going to be following up with that. And again, I mentioned those spring career fairs are about to start. So we're going to have a lot more really impressive candidates for you to consider very, very soon. All right. So hopefully you're convinced, and if you're not already working with us, you want to take those next steps. So if you've been a host company in the past, or if you're considering doing it for the first time, super easy to take action here. Really, first step is let us know you're interested. The fact that you're here today, I think, is a step along that road. But let's have those follow-up conversations on your specific needs. We'll cover some of that during the Q&A if you want to discuss it now, or we can set up time in the near future one-on-one. And most importantly, make a point of reviewing the resumes that we're sending out, and try to follow up quickly to express your interest. Again, with the competimates, we want you to have a crack at getting those candidates on your team as they are available. If you are not on the distribution list for Molly, please make sure we've got your email. I know when you registered for today, we captured that from a lot of you. If you've got colleagues that would be good to be on that distribution list, let us know. It's okay for multiple people from each member company to be on the distribution list. So that could include not just your HR and recruiters, talent acquisition folks, but also your technical leaders, your program managers who are looking for no talent, your hiring managers. Get some eyes on those folks, and then let's again schedule some time when we can meet and discuss your talent needs, what that looks like for you, so we can incorporate that into our screening, into our process of what we are looking for. What are your requirements for skills that your DoD customers need most often on a recurring basis? Also, we'd love to hear what success stories look like for you. What positive internship experiences have you had with folks that we can build upon that going forward? Or maybe lessons learned, if something didn't work out so well, and then we want to make sure we understand that as well. All right. How do your colleagues start that conversation with SENEDIA if you haven't figured it out already? On the slideshow, or on the slide that's on the screen now, it's a snapshot of that page I was mentioning. If you go to our website, the internship dropdown, that's what it's going to look like. And then I've pulled out in the oval for employers a way to connect with us. You can also, on the next slide, is the email that'll come to our team if you want to connect directly. Either way, let's keep that conversation going, keep that feedback loop going. And again, after today's Tech Talk, please reach out. So let's stay in touch. All those contact methods, again, are basically going to end up in the same place. We want to make it as easy as possible. I'm happy to set up individual conversations. And we want to make sure, as new people are joining your team, that they learn about this resource, and that we are keeping up with your changes over time as they shift. All right. So now that's my presentation piece of it. Let's open up the talk piece of it. We can open up the microphones. I'm not sure if we had any questions, Tim, in the chat that we needed to address if we didn't cover them. But happy to open up for Q&A of anything that we have not covered up to this point.
Nothing in the chat yet, but I will open up the microphones now. But certainly, folks can enter their question into the chat. But microphone should be live now if folks have questions.
And if you're having any trouble with that, I think there's a raise your hand function on Teams. Just let us know if you do have a question. Hopefully we covered everything. And if not, if you don't want to discuss your specific scenario in a group format, that's fine. Follow up afterwards. Happy to set up time as necessary. But any follow up or questions, and I will open it up. I think I've got my colleagues on the line as well. Anyone from SENEDIA, if I missed anything, feel free to chime in to make sure that we've covered all the bases.
Rachel, why don't you give a couple of examples of some of the internships and also the direct hire, the types of candidates, the backgrounds Certainly
Sure.
we've talked cyber and some others, but I don't know if we mentioned, we've helped with marketing candidates before and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great great example. Just recently, earlier this month, um, you know, I had an example of the marketing that you mentioned, which is not something that is sort of the center of the bullseye of the skill sets that we're looking for. But a candidate or a member company reached out, said they were looking for someone to help on a particular project with that kind of background, and it was great. It put that on my radar. And the following day, I was scheduled to meet with a candidate. I think it was either a student at Salve, Regina, or at the University of Rhode Island, majoring in marketing. And so it was a great way to be able to kind of connect the dots to know what our customers need and what skill sets he's bringing to the table. So we've started that conversation. It's still early days. But again, what we're mostly looking for are more technical skills, a lot of mechanical engineers at some of the nearby universities, some really enthusiastic students that love to get their hands on in terms of, the mechanical engineering aspects. And as someone who is not an engineer, it's great to see the enthusiasm that they bring to the table on a topic that is less familiar for me, and to be able to be that bridge. And then to go to talk to our companies. I've talked to a couple of the companies here in the Middletown area, talking about, how they work with SolidWorks and CAD, and being able to bring that back, have it in mind as I'm talking to the candidates that have those skills and what they're doing with it on the academic side or in past internships. So we have made some of those connections for mechanical engineering, for electrical engineering. A lot of folks looking at cybersecurity. Again, we're helping a lot of folks with getting Security Plus through CompTIA. So.
And also just to, we did get a comment it wasn't a question, but it was a comment from Jim, asking if we can put the resumes up on our website. We will take a look at that. I don't know if we can put it on the fully public side, but we'll take a look at the member zone capability that you all as members of SENEDIA, you have access into that kind of that member area of senedia.org, and we'll see if there's someplace there that we can put some information about these great candidates that we're finding. Rachel, where are we? You mentioned that we've registered for some job fairs coming up. Where are we going this spring?
Yep.
Where will we be?
Let's see. Some of the places that we're going to be going, the University of Rhode Island, Bryant University. I believe we're going back to Brown. We went there in the fall. We'll be going back to Brown. UMass Dartmouth, just across in Massachusetts. In fact, one of the students I met at the career fair at UMass Dartmouth last fall is going to be starting mechanical engineering internship this month with one of our candidates. I was really impressed with her. Happy to see that getting some traction, and to see sort of where she ends up. Where else? New England Tech and CCRI are some of the companies or universities that we reach out to and work with as well. Salve, we're not going to career fair at Salve, but we do get a lot of those students who are interested in talking to us. Did I miss any? Bryant, URI, they've got a big tech career fair, and so does UMass Dartmouth. So yeah. And
I will add that we are going to start to engage as the institute and the programs at Rhode Island College, particularly around the cybersecurity and emerging technologies center at Rhode Island College expands. We'll certainly work to engage with those students. We haven't had any additional questions come through the chat. So I think this is a good place to end it. First off, thank you, Rachel, for putting on this tech talk and providing information to our members on this really valuable program. I really do encourage the members that are on the call today to reach out, even if you don't have a specific opportunity yet available. It might be just good to kind of talk through some scenarios, talk about, maybe some upcoming job recs that you may have open or opportunities. And the other thing that I would encourage you all to do is to share this webinar. So we did record the webinar today. We will have it up and available. I encourage you to share it throughout your team, particularly with your technical leads, as they're the ones that I'm sure are coming to you and saying, hey, we need it'd be great if we could have an intern help us with our, this XYZ contract that we were just awarded or project that we're working on, or hey, we need to add to our team. And when they come to you, using that, collaborative sense in your companies with, hey, I remember you telling me about that SENEDIA Real Jobs Rhode Island program that can help us get these candidates. It'll really help to engage this program. We talked to, I think last year we talked to over 100 candidates, and then I think from there we sent out over 70 or so. So there's a great number of pre-screened candidates that are coming out of this program that I think would be really great to connect to you. Yeah, we'll put something out, Jim, when the recording is available. Absolutely.
And I put in the chat, if you do have follow-up questions, want to get in touch, I put the generic internships at senedia.org just so it goes to our entire team. If you've got my email, you can send it to me directly, but I will see it either way. And I just want to make sure that our entire team is being responsive. So thank you so much.
Great. Well, without further ado, again, thank you all for the time this morning. We'll give you back 13 minutes, and we look forward to seeing you at the next SENEDIA Tech Talk. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.